Mo. I wanted to do a tag, and I was tagged by Jess the Book Freak in the Finish the Book tag. This tag was originated by Headless Books, but when I went to look for the original video, it wasn't up anymore, and I couldn't find Headless Books either. So if you know of where you can see that video, definitely leave a link in the comments below. Question number 1. Do you keep a list of books that you have read? I keep so many lists of the books that I've read. I put all the books that I read on Goodreads in my read section. I also do the Goodreads challenge, so there's a list of the books that I read there. I also do shelves of each year, so I have a list of all the books that I've read each year starting in 2020, which is when I started my Goodreads. I also keep a list of books that I've read in my bullet journal. So in my bullet journal, I have a section in the beginning for a book log. In my bullet journal book log, I keep just a numbered list of books that I've read. It starts whenever the bullet journal starts. So this one is from May 2022 to November 2022. So I have a list of the books and the author, and then the number of pages, how many pages I want to read each day, the date that I started the book, and the date that I ended the book. I have a section for the gender of the author, which I kind of sort of fill out. I have a section for the origin of the author, so what country they're from, which I sometimes don't fill out. I have a section to say whether the book has queer representation or the author is queer, which I sometimes don't fill out. And then I have a little section of notes. Sometimes I fill that out, sometimes I don't. It depends on whether I have a note about the book. And then I do have a little area where I check off when I finished the book and what month I read that book in. And then in the back of my bullet journal, or in the middle of my bullet journal, I also have a log based just on the title of the book and the month that I read it in. This one really is for reference for writing reviews for each book. I'm 2 years behind on my reviews, but I still keep this log so that when I do write those reviews, I can check them off. I keep it in the back of the book because I used to keep this monthly, and I used to keep it updated monthly and my reviews updated monthly, but since I haven't been doing that for 2 years, I just started keeping it wherever. Now, when I start my new bullet journal, which I will have to do at the end of November, I will probably have that in the beginning of the book next to the book log. So the book log will be a running log of what books I read, when I read them, etc. But I will also keep a list of just the titles of the books as a checklist so that I can check them off when I write a review on my blog, which is madcatsquilt.com. Although I haven't updated there in a very long time, you can always check it out linked below. Question number 2. If you record stats, what kind of stats do you record? So I kind of already said that. I don't really record stats, but I do like to keep a list of the books that I've read and what month I read them in. I do like to keep a list of like the pages that they are and how many pages I want to read per day, but I don't ever look at those stats again. They're really just to help me in my actual reading. Where I do keep some stats is on my recently acquired book list. So that is sort of another place that I keep a list of books, and that is a spreadsheet where I keep every book that I have brought into the house, the author, the genre, a bunch of other information. And then on that, I also keep stats of how much money I've spent on books for the year, and how many books I read each month, and how many books I read off the spreadsheet in each month. So you can see a whole video where I explain my recently acquired books spreadsheet listed down below. Question number 3. Do you give star ratings? If so, what do you score books out of, and how do you come about this score? So I do not give star ratings, and I don't really give any approximation of star ratings. It's just whether I like a book or whether I don't like a book, or how much I like it. I do want to do the ratings and review tag, which was created by Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, so I will probably be doing that tag soon, and that will have a little bit more information of how I rate and review books. I also want to do a video on why I don't give star ratings, but it's too long to get into here, so maybe you'll see that in another video. Question number 4. Do you review books? I do review books. I have a booktube channel, obviously, and I do love to do my reading wrap up, and I do love to talk about the books that I'm reading as I read them in vlogs, or I like to give recommendation videos either through tags or through straight up recommendations. And I do also review, or I did also review books on my website, on my blog, and there I would give a brief synopsis of the book and then talk a little bit about how I liked them or what I thought of them and some comps for why I would recommend them. I would really like to get back to that because I do think it's nice to have like an actual review that you can reference to, either for myself or for other people coming to my channel, as a way to quickly see all the books that I've read and then see what I thought of them, see what they're about, see what I thought of them, instead of having to go back through wrap-ups. I don't do individual book reviews on my channel, although I think that they're great to do for a booktube channel. Personally, I just never feel moved enough to do a full review on one book, especially because sometimes they're mentioned several times in other videos. I also don't watch individual book reviews unless I've already read the book, and that's because I really don't want any kind of spoilers or anything like that. But I do like to, once I've read a book, maybe go back and search through people's reviews and watch them, or when I see that someone's reviewing a book that I've already read, I like to watch that and hear their thoughts on it. Question number 5. Where do you put your finished books? I put all the books that I've read for the year on a little yearly read shelf, which is on my bookcase near my desk. So right now it contains all books that I read in 2022. I partly put them there so that I can easily reference them if I need to look something up, or if I'm doing a video about recent books, or I always take a photo for my Instagram each month. I used to always take photos for my reviews as well, and I like to see them all stacked together. It looks cool. Once the year is over, I will do a keep or toss video, and in that video I'll go through every physical book that I still have that I read in 2022, and I will decide whether I'm going to keep them or redonate them to a little free library or give them to a friend. And then after that video, I try to fit them on my red shelf. All through 2022, I've been reorganizing my library, so my red shelves are getting organized, but as of right now, I don't have any room for any of my 2022 books. So I'm trying to figure out a way to come up with some more space on my red shelves to put 2022 books. I don't keep all the books that I've read. Like I said, sometimes I have books that I know I'm never going to reread. So on my red shelves, I only keep the books that I really loved from the previous years. Question number 6. How do you pick your next book? I'm a mood reader, and I have a whole vlog of me choosing my books for one whole month. So if you want to see that, I will list it in the description box below. But basically, because I'm a mood reader, I just go with my mood. If something strikes my fancy, I go to that. If I just acquired a book and I want to read it, I go to that. If a book's been on my mind and I want to read it, I go to that. If I can't decide what book, or if I don't have a very obvious choice, a lot of times I'll pick 3 or 4 books that sound interesting and I'll read a couple of sentences, or sometimes I'll honestly just like look at the book and decide if I want to read it or not. Because that doesn't always work out on the first shot. Sometimes I have to read several starts of books to decide what I want to read, or sometimes I'll read the first 10 pages of a book and then have to pick something different. So it's a very complicated and unorganized process to be a mood reader, but it's what works for me. Question number 7. Do you have any other rituals for when you finish a book? Let's go through. I have already put it in my book log in my bullet journal, so I mark it off as read and I put the month. I mark the title down for books that I need to review. I mark it read on Goodreads and put it in my 2022 or whatever year it happens to be shelf. I also go through my recently acquired books spreadsheet, and if it was on there, I mark it read on there and I highlight it the color of the month, and I make a wrap-up video about it. So my wrap-up videos are vlog style, and I try to sit down and talk about the books that I've read as close to when I read them as I can so that I remember what I've read. I don't always get that close, so sometimes that'll be a week or 2 weeks later than I read the book. Those are... Oh, and then I put it on my 2022 or whatever year it is read shelf. If I were still blogging my reviews, I would also take a picture of it, and then at the end of the month I take my stack of read books and I take a photo of it for Instagram. So I have 8 steps for finishing a book, so that's a lot of steps. Let me know what you do when you finish a book. Do you have 8 steps or less? And question number 8, who do you tag? Just the Book Freak tagged me. I think for all these rules and rituals, I would like to see Rosie Cockshut and what she does, so I'm going to go ahead and tag Rosie. I would like to see Miss Danielle, what she does when she finishes a book, or what her rituals or routines are. And because they're so organized and so particular about their TBR, I would love to know what AJ Dunn Reads and Writes does when they finish a book, if they have the same interesting process and rituals and routines for finishing books. So I will link those down below, but as always, if you would like to do this tag, please feel free to answer the questions down below or make a video and let us know so that we can go watch it. Thanks so much for joining me today, and thanks again to Jess for tagging me in this fun tag, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!